get more stressed, more anxious, and it will be filling our mind a little bit more than it is now. Come the 25th of June, 9 o'clock at night, when it's got to be submitted, I'm guessing that's when it's got to be submitted. Well then, you know, there's going to be quite a few anxious people. Have we done enough? Have we done it right? Is it going to pass? This is really important. This is my last submission before I finish, or this is, you know, I need to pass this because I maybe didn't do so well on the last one. So our mind will become more full about that stress and pressure. What we need to do and be aware of is that when our mind is full, we become less mindful about how we are looking after ourselves, etc. We're going to think about leadership now, okay? Because you are going to be the leaders of the future, okay? You are the nurses of the future. I'm not a nurse of the future. I was a nurse of the future 25 years ago. You are now the nurses of the future, okay? So you need to understand that you are, as an aspirant nurse, when you become a registered nurse, you are a leader. You don't have to be a service manager like I was to be a leader. Leadership comes in all different types, styles, practices at all different levels. If we are not mindful leaders, as in, you know, if we are not taking care of ourselves, being aware of how practice affects us and other people, well, we can lose our compassion. And this can come to a lack of self-regulation. So what that means is that if we are mindful and not being mindful of how we can keep our stress and anxiety down, we can become a little less perceptive of what's going on around us. So if I'm really, really stressed and I'm under a lot of pressure, I'm not going to be noticing if there's a student struggling. I'm not going to be mindful that actually some students might need to ask a few more questions to get to grips with what we're talking about. It might be, I just need to deliver this session so I can crack on. Okay? However, if I am mindful that, yes, I'm under a lot of stress and pressure, yes, I'm on tight deadlines, but actually I need to make sure that when I'm here with you, I give you what you need, because that's what I'm here for. Well then actually, you know, people might want to ask questions. I don't quite understand what you're talking about, Rachel. Can you explain it a different way? Yeah, absolutely. Rather than, I haven't got time, you'll have to just drop me an email later. Which approach would you prefer? Which one would you respond better to?
It's the first one.
The first one?
Yeah.
Good, I'm glad you said that. That means we can form a relationship. Okay? Because this is a big university. And, you know, I've been to university, you feel quite anonymous, don't you? You get different lecturers coming in, you know, you might not see the same lecturer twice, you're just a small person in a huge big organisation. That's what it's like working in the NHS, that's what it's like looking in healthcare, working in healthcare. So, again, we're having this conversation about, you know, being mindful and having mindfulness and being aware of mindful, because actually if you are made aware and understand this, well then going forward it's going to help you as your career develops and progresses. Being mindful and self-aware actually can reduce stress. So I'll give you an example. I've just been off sick for 3 weeks. I got COVID and I don't do very well with COVID at all. So I've been off sick for 3 weeks. Today's my first day back. And I've walked in and I've got 300 plus emails. I've got teaching I need to prepare for. The registered or the nurses on the degree course have a document that needs to be signed off. So I've got my own students to sign off before the end of the week and another colleague who's off sick to sign before the end of the week. I've also got 40 2,500 word assignments to mark. So, you know, my mind is quite full, to say the least. However, I know that stuff I need to do, but I am not in here thinking about it. I am aware that if I thought about it too much and let it get into my head, I would probably be sat at the table sobbing, going, "You have to teach yourselves, I can't do it." However, you know, this is a skill that you can develop when you're under a lot of pressure and a lot of stress. It's about, you know, keeping that compassion, keeping that and being mindful of my priority is to you lot today, nothing else, it's to you lot.
Can I ask you one question,
Of
please?
course you can.
So, which work do you feel more stressful, nursing or this teaching?
Hey, what a good question.
Nursing, I think.
When I left practice to come I started at Salford University about 5 years ago, and my colleague said something really that stuck with me, and she said, "Rachel, no one ever died of an academic emergency."
Exactly.
And I think, yes, there's a lot to do, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of pressure, but, you know, if I don't fill those PAR documents in on time, you know, nobody's going to die. So it you know, don't get me wrong, my levels of stress are, you know, quite peaked at the moment. However, that mindfulness and being aware that actually, you know, no one's going to die.
Yeah, actually you are in peaceful situation. You know there is not like any emergency, like this can happen, this will happen if you don't do it. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not like, you know, if I don't give this patient their medication on time, they're actually, you know, possibly going to go into cardiac arrest, or, you know, if I don't arrange for this patient to be supervised every single second of the day, they're going to try and hang themselves. It's nothing like that. But also I think with age comes wisdom as well. You know, when I first started nursing, there was many nights that I thought, "Oh my God, I've not done this, I've not done that. Is this patient going to be alive when I go back tomorrow?" You know, it was quite anxiety provoking. But I think with age comes wisdom and experience. And with that comes that sense of, it's interesting, it's an interesting question. It's also about your exposure as well. So I remember one of the roles that I had before I joined kind of higher education was as a working in dementia care at end of life. And I remember a Macmillan nurse ringing me up and saying, "Can you come and review this patient, advanced dementia, they're in a care home, quite concerned, can you come and see him for mental health?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And I remember walking into this care home and it was absolute bedlam. There was 2 old ladies with dementia that were fighting. You know, there was a bloke walking around without his pants on. There was no staff. You know, we couldn't find anybody. There was somebody screaming. And for me, it's nothing I hadn't seen before. It's nothing that I hadn't dealt with before. Went in, separated the 2 ladies, sat one down, walked the other one off for a cup of tea, you know, got the man a blanket until we could find him some trousers, just dealt with it. And we came out of the care home and this Macmillan nurse said to me, "Oh my God, how did you know what to do?" And it's like, well, it's experience. You know, you learn, don't you? And you become aware of how to best deal with situations. Another really good question. I don't know whether that answers it or not, or whether I've just waffled. But
No, it's I know what you mean. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I was
But
looking for.
there are
Yeah.
things that you don't know until you live that experience.
Yeah.
You don't know whether it's going to impact on you or affect you. There are things that can happen that perhaps you think, oh, I wouldn't be able to deal with that. See, I'll give you I'll share a secret. When I started nursing, I was scared to death of death. I didn't want to be near people who were dying. I remember as a student being on a ward and the sister saying, Mr. Smith in bed 4 is dying. Do you want to go and see and help care for him? And I was like, no, I really, no. So I've gone from that to being a palliative care nurse that feels privileged to work and support people that are dying. So, you know, you adjust and learn and develop, don't you?
Thank you.
Good question.
Thank you.
So, we can alleviate stress by being mindful of things. I mean, do I look like a woman who's particularly stressed by all the stuff that's going on?
No, you
Not
look
at all.
really peaceful.
Catch me later. Think about the environments that potentially you're going to go and work in. Okay, think about when you're applying for jobs. Think about where you want to work. Do you want to go and work with the person, the leader, who is, oh my God, it's so busy, it's, oh, we've got to do this and sort this out, and is that how you want to work? Or do you want to work in a team or an environment where, you know, right, we've got a lot to do, but let's start picking it up and chipping away at it. Which would you prefer?
Second.
So, you know, again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about you're in a lucky position that when it comes to seeking a job in nursing, you can pick and choose. So, you know, being a good leader is about being able to be self-aware. You know, it's about self-regulation. You know, it may be the busiest shift you've ever had in your entire life, but we're going to get through it. We're going to, you know, get tasks done. We're going to prioritise. We're going to put a day text into the hospital to say we're too short-staffed. We're going to do those things. We're not going to run around screaming. We're not going to be sat with our head between our knees going, oh, I can't do it. Because, you know, we are mindful about how we project ourselves. If we are mindful, we can be more flexible, we can be more responsive, we can think out of the box. And we can be more objective. So think about those times when we are stressed and anxious and worried and under pressure. Can we think clearly? No, we cannot. Because our thoughts are panicked, we're running on adrenaline. So, you know, because of that, we lose objectivity. We start making decisions that are maybe not the right ones. Maybe not in the best interest of patients. We need to think about having defences. And again, we circle back round to looking after ourselves, self-care. Okay, in situations when we're getting stressed and panicky, I'm going to, you know, 5 things I can see, 4 things I can, you know, I'm going to do that, calm myself down. That's about having defences rather than being defensive. I can't do that, I'm too busy already. Get her to do it, lazy sod in the staff room. You know, there's a difference, isn't there? And that's what good leadership is about. Having these skills and strategies. So